Hi there, Kelsey Tonner here from Be a Better Guide in the Online Tourism Academy. Today we're going to be sharing with you one of our most popular workshops, the 7 steps to a steady stream of 5-star reviews. So no matter what type of tour or activity business you're leading, whether you're an individual or freelance guide or you're part of a larger company, we are all looking to create incredible experiences for our guests and of course get those 5-star rave reviews, get that word of mouth referral. So in this workshop, we're going to give you some practical advice on how you can do it. 7 steps to a steady stream of 5-star reviews. We're going to cover the real reason why most companies fail to meet their guests' expectations. You can see this across TripAdvisor. Any tour activity you look at some of those 2- and 3-star reviews. We're going to show you exactly what companies are getting wrong. The TripAdvisor algorithm explained, just a quick overview so everybody understands what's happening with the TripAdvisor algorithm and how you can rise in the rankings. We've got 3 techniques you can use that might be surprising to you. The biggest mistake to make when responding to online reviews, plus 8 real-world examples of these best practices in action. So we're going to look at the common mistakes when people are responding to online reviews. Then we're going to look at some best practices and actually pull up some tour activity companies who are doing this really well. We're going to end with basically an overview of everything that you can do to ensure you're getting that 5-star review. We're going to show you how you can make it simple for people, how you can build a system into your online booking software so that you're getting as many reviews as possible. The 7 steps to a steady stream of 5-star reviews is one of our most popular workshops. We think you're really going to enjoy it. Stick around to the end and we'll hook you up with a free PDF. This is kind of a cheat sheet. We like to call it the ultimate pre-tour checklist. You can take this, adapt it, make it work for your tours, maybe even your team, and it's just a free gift from us to you. So stick around to the end of the workshop. We'll see you inside. Okay, everyone, I've just received an indication that we are live, so I'm going to type in the chat box that you should be seeing us now. Actually, it'll take about 30 seconds for them to see this. Nick, just as a heads up that there's about a 25-second delay.
So yeah, let's start today. We're with Kelsey Tonner. He is the founder of Be a Better Guide and teaches guides to be a better tour guide and to give you that good reviews on websites like TripAdvisor and just happy faces all along. Therefore, we're really excited to hear what he's going to talk about. I think because we are a little bit late, I think we just should jump right into it and then yeah, let's start. I'm excited. So Kelsey, it's all yours.
We're going to be talking about the 7 steps to a steady stream of 5-star reviews. Thank you, everybody who shared their name. Ideally, we would have had time to go through and welcome everyone individually, but we're going to press on because of those few technical glitches that we had. So how to get the most out of this workshop? Well, we found that if you turn off everything that's operating in the background, including just like email systems, Skype, iTunes, things like that, it tends to allow the program to run a little bit smoother. This Google Hangout on-air technology is really cool because it allows us to broadcast live to so many people, but it can also eat up some resources. So this will also set you up for success, keeping your computer's resources free, and it's kind of nice to silence your phone, close the door, give yourself some time to discover some new strategies. As we advertise, we've got a free giveaway at the end just for joining us in the workshop. Special bonus PDF. It's called the Ultimate Pre-Tour Checklist. And it's basically a checklist that you can use and adapt for your own tours, for your own guides. And basically, if you stick around to the end, I'll show you how to get your hands on this resource, just like a little tool, kind of a little bonus. So everything sound okay, Nick? If you can just maybe be keeping an eye on the chat there. And if anybody finds, there is a slight delay, as we mentioned, about 23 or 4 seconds, I think I clocked it, between you hearing us and the chat. So we can actually respond live in the chat. So we'll keep that in mind as we go through. So what is Be a Better Guide? Well, Be a Better Guide project kind of started from this belief that anyone, anywhere can be an incredible guide, and that it's not something that you're born with. That these are really a set of skills that you can develop, that we can harness, and that this is a really worthwhile thing to do, right? So that's part of the reason why I created the Be a Better Guide project, bring the world's top tour guides and tourism businesses together, like many of you folks here today, to learn from one another, share best practices, and create a community. And Be a Better Guide is also a business. So we create premium online training for guides and tour businesses taught by award-winning world-class tour guide trainers. We have an online coaching program called Lead Amazing Tours, which helps activity operators all over the world create, sell, and market their experiences. And I'll come back and let you know a little bit more about that. But right now, let's type in the chat. Let's see if we can get a little interaction in there. Where do you collect most of your reviews? I'm curious to see. So go ahead and type in the chat. It's going to be a bit of a delay for me, of course, to see it. So I'll just mention this. I'm very interested, where do you collect most of your reviews? So when it comes to online reviews, there are really two categories of people, right? If we take a step back, there's those that have a steady stream of amazing online reviews, and then those that want them, right? There's really no middle ground, right? There's not businesses out there that are, you know, really gunning for the 4-star reviews, you know, satisfied with 3.5. Everybody's looking for the steady stream of 5-star reviews, right? So we've got all kinds of people writing in. TripAdvisor, I see via Zerv, Yelp. That's awesome. We're going to talk a little bit about Yelp. TripAdvisor, Favebook. That's very cool. That's a new one. TripAdvisor and Yelp. TripAdvisor, Facebook. Excellent. So I'm seeing some of the other places where we should be at least aware that we can be collecting online reviews. So these are great. Spontaneous guest reviews, no review management from Bill. Very cool. Thanks so much for sharing, guys. Fave. So you're definitely in the right place. I can see already by the responses. You're in the right place. If you're an independent tour guide or freelancer and you want to know how to get in touch with clients for the first time and you're struggling to stand out from your competition, maybe you can relate to that. Or maybe you have your own small business and you find that there's 1,000,001 things to do every single day, everything from payroll, accounting, marketing, social media management, customer service, online promotion, advertising, etc. And as a small business owner, I can absolutely relate to this one. But in your heart, you're committed to making your tours and your experiences truly memorable. And you want to stand out from all those other tours that you know offer mediocre service or cookie cutter options. Well, you're in the right place. You've got a team of guides, perhaps, or a group of tour leaders, and you're interested in making sure they've got the training they need to succeed and the skills to get consistent rave reviews from customers. You are definitely in the right place. And I also like to shout out to anyone who's out there who's brand new to guiding, or maybe this is a new industry for you. You're just considering a career in tourism, maybe starting something from the ground up, and you're looking for some coaching, some instruction, support, and becoming an extraordinary guide. You're absolutely in the right place. I'm so glad you guys are here. So I want you to now type in the chat, what are some of your fears when it comes to your online reviews? And I see that that's a typo there to our, but to your online reviews, what are some fears? Because there are real fears, and we'll come back to the chat because of the delay. But here's a fear that I often hear in my work with guides and businesses. How do I get my guests to actually leave reviews without being annoying or hassling them constantly? You know, if you can relate to that. How about, if I can't get enough 5-star reviews, I'll lose my position on TripAdvisor, which will cost me sales, which will actually cost me sales, right? That these rankings, which are just sort of like, oh, you know, the best people rise to the top, quote, unquote. But there can be a real financial cost to that, right? Or how about this one? There are just so many review sites out there. How in the heck am I supposed to get great reviews everywhere? We're supposed to get them on TripAdvisor. Now we're supposed to get them on Yelp, Google+, Facebook, buy a tour, get your guide if you use their services, etc., etc. These are all real fears, absolutely. So very quickly, you might be thinking to yourself, well, wait a sec, who are you really? Who is this guy? And that's a fair question. And to answer it, I'm going to share with you a quick story. So about 10 years ago, I became a guide. This is my story. But I wasn't a very good one when I first started. I'll be the first to say it. My guests were often the first to let me know. Most of the companies I worked for used evaluations. And I would often receive sometimes 7s and 8s, sometimes lower from other guides. I got reviews like this. My guide was okay, though not terribly interesting. Kelsey was a nice guy, but it seemed like there was still some seasoning to do. Or worst of all, blank. Right? Let me know if you can relate to that. Just blank, where there were no comments at all and perhaps just a low rating. So this was really disheartening, especially when I was working for Backroads Tours, a company that had hundreds of amazing tour leaders. There was a time when I was in the bottom 10% of all my fellow guides when it came to score. That meant that 90% of the guides were getting better evals than I did. So I realized this wasn't sustainable, right? I really needed to kind of shape up, right? So I started reading books on being a great guide, how to deliver incredible service. A big thing I started doing, honestly, was talking to my guests and asking them who their most memorable guides had been in the past. Why did those people stand out so much? What made those guides so special? With Backroads, I had the opportunity to work with some of the most incredible tour guides on the planet, and I got to see firsthand how many of these high performers operated. They were just basically consistently adored by their guests, just incredible tour guides. So basically, I obsessed over how to lead amazing tours. It was through observation, research, constructive feedback, a lot from guests, from coworkers as well. Actually talking to my guests, I broke down these techniques into bite-sized, actionable steps and started applying them in my own tour leading. I modeled and emulated other amazing guides, turned those observations into action, and I too started becoming an extraordinary guide. It was a transition that I went through. So results, right away, my online evaluations started going through the roof once I started putting effort into this. For the next 35 week-long tours, that was over about 2 years, I received over 350 individual guest reviews with an average ranking of 9.8 out of 10 stars, which I was extremely proud of. I rose from the bottom 10% to the top 10% of performers in the company, and that was over 350 tour leaders. I started getting these rave reviews that I finally dreamed about. And here's just some examples here. I won't read them. But all of a sudden, I could shape my own destiny too. I had more opportunity and influence with Backroads. They even asked me to start researching, designing new travel trips, and they promoted me to training some of the new guides and coaching them on their first trip leading experiences so that they could replicate those types of experiences. And this recognition culminated with an incredible surprise here in 2015, where I was informed that based on nominations of my past guests, I was selected from thousands of one of 8 shortlisted tour leaders for the 2015 World Guide Awards. I mean, this was just an incredible honor. And so I ask you, did all of this happen because I was born with some special gift or because I'm talented in some unique way? Of course not. Of course not, right? All of this happened because I actually invested time, some money, some effort into becoming an extraordinary guide. And I learned how to lead amazing tours, right? Your own personal goals and what you're trying to accomplish in your business is likely completely different from my path, from where I'm coming from, and that's totally okay. I just wanted to show you what kind of real, tangible results are possible when we get committed to leading amazing tours, and we can inspire our team of guides to get committed to leading amazing tours, right? But what does that actually look like? And this is where we're going to get into the nitty-gritty here. So here's the bottom line. Amazing tours get rave reviews, and exceptional guides get exceptional feedback, right? This is just kind of the bottom line that's going through. If you came to this kind of workshop looking for, well, how can we hack the system a little bit? Is there a way to only get 5-star reviews? These sorts of things. I'm going to tell you there's not a ton of shortcuts, but we've got to wrap our head around this basic concept that if we want to consistently get a steady stream of amazing reviews, we've got to make darn sure that we're giving amazing tours, that we are blowing our guests out of the water. Just keeping an eye on the comments here. Congrats on the award. Thank you so much from Jamie Fishing. We have never had anything less than a perfect score. Someone shared too. That is awesome. I think clearly you're doing something right. But here, I'm going to share this quick analogy. We've got this guy here on screen who is whaling. I don't actually know who this is. I just found the picture online. If someone actually knows who this is. But this is what I like to think about the modern world we live in. With so many people reviewing, we've got this system. Think of this solo, this guitar solo that the guy is doing. And it's being broadcast out through those speakers. And it's being blasted into the world or into the crowd in this analogy. Now, if that solo is great, if your reviews are great, that should be one of the most exciting things in the world because of sites like TripAdvisor, Facebook, Yelp, and Google, and all of these companies who are getting into peer reviews, online reviews in a big way. Your great reputation is going to be amplified that much more. And what this means is that the companies who are leading the best tours are going to have those reviews amplified. But here's why this should also be terrifying, because if you have a bad solo, or if this guy breaks a string or snaps a nail or finger or something like this, then that mistake and those errors are going to be amplified just as much. And I'm sure I don't have to talk to many of you about the effect that a couple negative reviews or a few bad things can really be broadcast way more than they should be, right? They might stick around for a couple years. They might be influencing future customers. So we've got to be aware of this new world that we live in. So here's our first step. We no hat, but looks like Santana. AC/DC, well, we'll have to keep an eye on it. So let's start with step one, becoming a feedback fanatic. And this is something that we want to inspire in our guides. And we also just want to bring this approach to our tours. But the ABL just means always be learning. I like to say, think like a professional athlete. So if you think of, let's go with, basketball. I say, I'm not a basketball player by any means, but the people, say, in the NBA or the best basketball players on earth are the people who are actually working the hardest at being better, if you think about it, right? So we want to be thinking like a professional athlete, that even if we're leading some of the best tours in whatever city that we're in, we want to continue to strive to be better, right? We want to go out and do the drills. We want to go and scrimmage. We want to practice. We want to go to the gym. We want to do the fitness, all those things that those professional basketball players do to continue improving, continue their finesse. And that's the type of commitment we want to bring to our tours. That's the type of philosophy, I guess, you want to inspire in your guiding team. Because no matter how amazing your tour is, there's always a way to make it better. No matter how great you are as a guide, you can always be better. And so this is a commitment to excellence, right? And for those of you out there, someone who shared, well, hey, we just always get 5-star reviews. We want to keep pushing you to keep getting those reviews, keep going, right? And then we'll talk about spreading those reviews around. Growth and insights come from 3 areas. Obviously yourself and some self-reflection, coworkers, employers, employees, and your guests, most of all your guests. But here's the thing, I'm saying we should be soliciting feedback from all 3 of these groups, regularly soliciting feedback from all 3. So think right now about your business, your system, how you do it. Are you regularly getting feedback from all these areas? And here's a example feedback flow that I love, that it's a little bit of a hack, but this is the type of thing that you could send to your guest after they come on a tour or an activity with you. We'll follow up with them in an email. We'll talk about that in a second too, but would you be comfortable leaving a 5-star review for us? And you give them 2 options. Option 1 is, yes, I would love to let people know about my great experience. So say they click option 1, then you want to take them directly to your most important review site, right? We want to make that as simple as possible. They just click and they're on your page, on a place where they can leave that review. Now here's option 2. Would you be comfortable leaving a 5-star review for us? No, but I have some feedback to help make your tour better. They click that option, you take them directly to a personal feedback survey. Okay, so we see the distinction here. We don't want to be soliciting feedback on public places like TripAdvisor or Facebook, but we do want to capture that feedback. So you can create surveys very, very easily these days. Google Forms is one of my favorites recently. Wufoo and SurveyMonkey are 2 other ones that will allow you to create different levels of forms. The nice thing about Google Forms is that it is just largely free, and SurveyMonkey and others have some paid options. But what's great about having that personal feedback form is that you can dictate the questions that are on there, right? You can be the one that's asking the questions. You can be asking specific feedback about individual guides and things like that. So I don't have a ton of time to get into these things, but these are the types of systems that we talk about in Lead Amazing Tours. Let me know in the comments if any of you are using a system like that. Michael Jordan, always work to get better. Captain Chris, thanks for sharing that. Absolutely, Michael Jordan kept that commitment up. Step 2, be remarkable. Now, if some of you caught my previous webinar, workshop that we did with Nick before, you've heard me talk about this, so I won't spend a ton of time on it, but this purple cow analogy, and very briefly, if you hadn't heard it before, it's an idea that I think Seth Godin first popularized. He basically said, imagine you're driving along the road and you look out and there's just cows everywhere. We're in a rural place. The cows aren't that interesting. You rarely look twice. But what would happen if you actually saw a real purple cow? Not a spray painted one, but like a real legitimate purple cow. Well, you'd probably pull the car over. You'd probably snap some pictures, maybe with your phone. You would certainly talk about it that night with your family at dinner. You might even bring it up work the next day. And the reason is that when you see something that is out of the ordinary or something that is remarkable, we actually really want to talk about it. We love to share stories like this. So we've got to ask ourselves the tough question, is our tour or activity actually worth talking about? You might remember this slide from the last one. I just love it so much. Any chance that I can include this photo of Oprah Winfrey staggering across hot coals in a workshop, I will always jump on the opportunity. So this is just a quick example from Tony Robbins. And early on, he was doing the motivational speaking, and he basically was having trouble getting traction. This was before he was a global author and his workshops were selling out. And so what he started doing to be more remarkable was having hot coals in the parking lot. So Sunday after you'd finished his workshop, you'd go outside and you would walk across those hot coals. Now, the physics of it, the physiology, it's not that difficult to actually do this, but he did it more so. There's obviously some nice symbolism too, mind over matter and those sorts of things, but mostly, and he tells this story, so that it would give people something to talk about, right? When they went back to their families or when they were on the water cooler the next day at work and people said, hey, what did you do over the weekend? They say, I walked over hot coals this weekend with Oprah freaking Winfrey, right? I mean, it gives you something to talk about. It's something that's worth sharing. So we've got to ask ourselves, does our experience measure up like this? Do people want to talk about our experience? And I often think, I had the pleasure of going to Zimbabwe this past year and see the beautiful Victoria Falls. But I walked down the main street that's just of the town that's next to Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, and there are literally 24 signs. Every other building is said Victoria Falls walking tours, and there is zero differentiation between any of the tours. These are not remarkable tours that are aiming to stand out, right? So 2 things that travelers crave: special moments and special people. We want to give people access to something that they wouldn't normally have, introduce them to engaging and interesting people that they wouldn't have otherwise talked to, i.e. create moments that are truly memorable. I've got some great pictures here. I should mention too, if you're having trouble or things are looking a little blurry, you can actually use the gear icon in the bottom corner of this little YouTube box, and you can increase the quality. So it should be streaming in HD, and you can up the quality of the image that you're seeing. But I'll describe what's going on here. This is me leading tours in Vietnam, and in the top right here, this is a older, very short Vietnamese woman who has strapped me into a plow, and she was basically demonstrating to me some of the old tools that the Mekong people used for fishing, for harvesting, for plowing, for growing rice. And this was a very small museum. And this woman was the reason that this tour was so exceptional. She couldn't speak a lick of English, but she had a big smile, as you can see in some of these pictures perhaps. And she took us around, and again, without speaking a word of English, she would demonstrate how to use these tools. For example, I pretended to be the ox here, and she put on the hat and whipped me a few times. It was all very exciting. And then these baskets, but she would demonstrate. And so very quickly, I started bringing all of my groups to this tiny little museum. This is just one room, but because of this individual, this woman, I will always remember this experience. And we consistently found that our guests, when we introduced them to this local character, they just had a ball. It was a highlight of the trip. So something to keep in mind if you know people like that you can incorporate into your tour. So we'll keep pressing on here, but think special people and also special moments. Step 3, understand your guests' expectations. This is big. The real reason why most tour guides fail to meet their guests' expectations is that they don't know what they are. This is the big one. They don't know what they are, or they don't have a really great understanding of what those expectations are. If you stroll through or have a look at other companies' 2- and 3-star reviews on a site like TripAdvisor, it's basically a walk through a lush jungle of unfulfilled expectations. The root of the review is almost always a miscommunication or an expectation that wasn't fulfilled. So this is a great indicator that we've got to get clear on our guest expectations. People talk a lot about over-delivering, and we're going to do it in a moment, but we've got to figure out what our clients have been promised and then just deliver, just really focusing on the first part, right? And oftentimes we're delivering on someone else's promises. Let me know in the chat if you have encountered this, but maybe an agent or someone who's reselling or referring your tour is creating expectations that are unrealistic or just inaccurate, right? So you're not involved in those early promises, but now you're responsible for that delivery. This is a huge frustration and challenge for tour companies. The over or under promising sometimes has already happened, and we just need to deal with it as tour guides and tour companies. So if you happen to be in that situation, you should absolutely make it your top priority to go and work with those agents, those resellers, and make sure that they have up-to-date, accurate information about your tour or activity. Because to a guest, it really doesn't matter if that agent or that hotel or somebody else set their expectations and then you let them down. They don't really care about the distinction that, oh, well, they don't actually work for us or whatever. To them, they're just going to be disappointed, right? So here are the right questions to ask. What promises have already been made to my guests, and how do I fulfill in those promises? So where do we start? What I always recommend to tour companies, activity providers of all kinds, we want to review all communication that you have with your customers, right? So everything from email correspondence, the information that's on your website, like tour descriptions, travel planners, images, media that's on your website, up to phone calls, and even sometimes online reviews. I want to make sure that we're not overhyping or overpromising in those areas. And I actually encourage companies to do this for each tour. Make a discrete list, meaning a list of just separate items of all the things that they're expecting on that tour. And that list suddenly becomes very powerful when we can share it with our guides. And we can go to our guides and say, hey, are we actually delivering on all of these things? And if we're not consistently delivering on some of these things, then we've got to change our tour description. We've got to change the way we talk about our tours. I put these images up here. So this is just an example of how media can be confusing. So this picture on the right, let's just say you run a brewery tour. So you go around and do brewery, but say you didn't include beers in the price of your tour. Maybe at the last brewery or something, you had a discount. But basically people had to pay, even if it was only a small amount, to get a drink. If I saw this photo on your tour description, I would think, oh yeah, well, beer must be included in this brewery tour, right? Why else would they have this picture here? So you can be setting yourself up for disappointment just by the images that are on your website, right? That's kind of more subtle way that this can happen. I regularly work with some tour companies and guides in Iceland, and they say this is a huge challenge for them because the weather in Iceland is, as they describe it, 75% of the time is pretty bad. It's either raining or freezing rain or cloudy, windy, cold, these sorts of things. And people just don't necessarily expect it because their websites are full of these beautiful, sunny pictures, very lush, sometimes people in t-shirts, these sorts of things. And they found that when they're much more honest, upfront, and clear, that, hey, there's a really good chance that you're going to need a rain jacket, glove, hat, these sorts of things. By being honest and upfront, you can help shape those expectations, right? So clear and honest communication right up front. Other things I encourage companies to do when I work with them, publicly share your company policies online. So things like your refund policy, your cancellation policy, all of those things should be publicly available for your guests, the travelers to see, so there's no surprises, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to find them and know them, but they should be available, and then we can point to them. Frequently asked questions. Great thing to have on your website, because I know that many of you are inundated with the same old questions over and over. If that's happening, get those questions up on your website or on your tour description. Never shy away from the truth, and don't let resellers of your tour mislead your guests. Okay, just having a quick look at the comments here. I think we've got somebody sharing a picture of getting in the act in Chinatown, New York City. So it looks like we've got some great interaction happening on this tour. We get this presentation emailed after the webinar. Yeah, I think we can arrange for that, as Nick was saying, and we're going to have a recording. If you please point Form guest expectations again. Yeah, so we'll make sure you get a copy of this replay and also some of the slides. So feel free to take some notes, but don't worry too much if we're moving pretty quickly. We've got a lot of ground to cover. Step 4, now we're talking about exceed expectations, right? And we only do step 4 after step 3. We don't want to go right to here before we get clear and make sure that we're just doing what we say we're going to do, right? And not just us, because we know that we're often dealing with our teams of guides. So we want to help, we want to enable our guides to meet those expectations. So let's talk about exceeding. I talked about this before, but the before, during, and after strategy, this is an absolutely awesome technique. Break down your customer experience to before, during, and after the purchase, and anticipate their dream scenario during each phase. Ask yourself, how can I exceed expectations at each phase? So we're not just thinking on your tour here, but leading up to and afterwards, right? What would be cool, useful, over the top? And think about delivering value. This is what I say to tour businesses over and over. There's so many touch points that we have with our guests, with our travelers, with our customers leading up, where we can be wowing and delighting our guests. And it's such a missed opportunity because I don't think many tour businesses take this seriously enough. And this is the stuff that's going to get you the rave reviews. That's why we're talking about it here today. These little tiny things. So when I say deliver value, to make that less abstract, something that educates, something that entertains, or something that inspires are great ways to deliver value to your customer. Think about your social media feed. These are often things that get shared, that go viral, something that's interesting or educating, or an article of interest, something that's funny or entertaining in some way, or inspiring, like the beautiful photos that we often see on social media. So think about if your best friend or your family was coming on your tour or your experience and you wanted to go over the top for them. You'd probably do some little extra things. How could you do those little extra things for every single person that came on your tour? And with the digital technology today, it's honestly so easy. So we'll very quickly use, we seem to be on the brewery tour example. So let's talk about a brewery tour company in Prague. We're in the Czech Republic. This is just an example. This might look a little bit different for you. We've got pre-book, booking, reminder, on tour, post-tour. These are all phases, touch points you have with your customer. So what about when they pre-book, when they're just on your website, maybe exploring what you offer? What if we could have a cool video interview with a local Czech brewmaster, right? Some real character, hopefully really fat and sweaty down in his element. We want that on our website so we can deliver value right away. Now, during the booking moment, after somebody says, yeah, this looks awesome, I'm going to come on your brewery tour, we often send this confirmation email, but we don't necessarily deliver value at that point. It's just this kind of email that has details in it, right? Which is important, but think about how we can wow them at that moment. Maybe at that moment, you could share a story. The story of Pilsner. Do you know that Pilsner beer comes from a town, Pilsen, in the Czech Republic? Have a little one-page story about that, because clearly this person is interested in Czech beers. They're coming on your tour. Wow them a little bit. The reminder email, if you send one of those out, if you use services like Resd to automate that, how can you deliver value at that moment? Maybe it was a PDF map of your favorite restaurants in the town, and you just give that to them as a bonus, not something that they're expecting. On tour, obviously, we've got to give them access to something unbelievable. But post-tour, we thank you when we're asking for the review, which we're going to talk about in a second. We want to make sure we're delivering value. We'll talk about that right now. Step 5, ask for the review. Popping over here to the comments. Let's see. Captain Chris from Chicago says, we'll literally make anything happen for our customers. We've had a client come meet the boat in the middle of Lake Michigan on a wave runner to propose to his girlfriend. Rearranged it all. That is awesome, Chris. That's the kind of stuff that will get you amazing reviews. Those rave reviews that are just worth their weight in gold, right? Fantastic example. So we've got to ask for the review, right? We've got to have a call to action. If your goal is to have a steady stream of reviews, we need to be asking our guests. No bones about it, right? Having a simple call to action in an email, but keyword there is simple, is the key to driving human behavior. Be clear with what you're asking and make it easy for guests to leave a review. So we want to take a quick look at how TripAdvisor works. The 3 most important ranking factors for online review sites. First and foremost, we've got to understand TripAdvisor is a business, right? They are in this world to make money. They've now got stakeholders. Their big focus is to make money, and they're going to reward you for helping them achieve their goals. So we got to keep that in mind, that they're not a charitable service. So here are 3 main ranking factors for TripAdvisor for tour operators and tour guides according to their own site. 1 is your average review score, far and away the most important, right? This is of the 5 stars, they just average out. The second most important is the quantity of reviews. And this is why we've got to be asking as many guests as possible for reviews, because the quantity is just as important. And this is put in place so that if you are a tour guide and you have 1 5-star review, that's not going to be nearly as valuable as a tour guide or a company that's got 100 or 500 5-star reviews, right? So that quantity is very important. And thirdly, and a lot of us will not weigh this as heavily as we should, but the recency of reviews. This is hugely important, that the more recent reviews you've received are weighted more heavily in the TripAdvisor algorithm. So this is important to understand, that TripAdvisor will reward you for keeping their users active and happy. They want people on their site. They want more reviews. They want their service as much as possible to be accurate and a resource for people. So the key to your success is this steady stream of highly positive reviews. And each of those words is really important. Steady means that you've got this regular flow, because that's going to hit the recency. The stream means you need a steady stream, meaning you've got lots of reviews, and highly positive is, of course, the average ranking. These are not the only 3 important factors in the TripAdvisor algorithm, but they are the most important. So the foolproof system for generating more reviews. Take online bookings using a specialist tour operator booking software system. If many of you are using Resd, obviously we're partnering with them for this workshop. You know all about this. If some of you out there are still hesitating on getting a booking software system, this is one of the main reasons why I honestly think you should, because you can schedule, automate follow-up emails for bookings and ask them for a review, right? The automated nature means that you have this steady stream of reviews trickling in each week. TripAdvisor gets what they want, more active users, and you get what you want, which is higher rankings. So nearly all online tour software services give you this option, and I absolutely encourage you to make use of it, and you're going to see a huge jump in your reviews. We're going to come back to this, so don't worry, but build a strategic campaign for your reviews. I thought I had a slide in here. I just want to make note of this because this is really important. So many of you may have this automated email going out too, but don't forget to deliver value at this touch point, because everybody in the world is asking for a review, right? Booking.com, gosh, if you took the Uber on your vacation, if you go to multiple attractions, TripAdvisor, everybody's just blasting us for more and more reviews. And a lot of times these emails are getting ignored, and in many ways, rightfully so, because they're not delivering value, right? There's no value to us opening up and say, okay, I'll leave a review for like a Booking.com hotel that maybe has 1 million reviews already, right? So we want to change the nature of that email. We still want to automate and we still want to ask, but the top priority of that email is to deliver value. So you're going to follow up the tour, you're going to automate that email, but in the subject line, make sure that value is communicated. So maybe it's, if you happen to, I don't know, take photos. Sometimes I know some companies do that sort of thing. Send those photos and make sure that's in the subject line. And then within that email that has been automated, make it very easy for them to leave a review. You've got to ask for it. It could be any old thing. I know some companies that send little YouTube clips or mini documentaries that might relate to their tour or the activity, or again, those restaurant recommendations, those little things. That's the type of thing you want to send after the tour, and within that email, ask them for the review, because people are much likely to be reciprocally, I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but we reciprocate those good gestures, right? So if we offer them something of value, they're much more likely to leave a review because we're asking, and to leave a great review. So hopefully that's clear. Do you recommend leaving a management response to every review on TripAdvisor? Great question. We are going to get to that. Great question. I love that. Company has just cracked 500 five-star reviews. Hey, super congratulations to Bri41. That's the type of place that we all want to get to, right? Okay, I'm going to keep pressing on because we did start just a little bit late. But thanks so much for these comments, guys. And we will have a Q&A at the end. Cool. Build a strategic campaign for reviews. This is where we're going to get a little bit more creative. Everybody buckle up. This is where it's going to get a little bit tricksy. Where should I build my reviews online? So we want to focus your stream reviews at the most important hotspots for your business. And that's ultimately up to you and the networks and the channels that you use. But, and this is the big but, take the time to spread your reviews around to your other online profiles during short campaigns. Right, so that's kind of the analogy I'm putting here. These are firemen. I could have found some sexier firemen. In hindsight, I realized that these are not especially sexy fire people, so my apologies. But the analogy still holds. That imagine that hose is your stream of reviews. Once you've got it automated and set up in this way, you can then focus that hose or the nozzle of that hose predominantly at your most important hotspot. Maybe it's TripAdvisor, maybe it's Viator, maybe it's, wherever it is for you. But we're going to then take a week perhaps and aim the nozzle of that hose at some other places. So here's some examples. We want to aim it at Google My Business page. Now, this might be a little bit small to see, but this is a Walk SF Tours. It's a walking, just an example company I found online. And we see here that in the Google search, if you type in Walking Tours San Francisco, they'll pop up because they have the Google My Business page set up, which everyone should do if you don't have that done yet. But right away, what I want you to notice is the reviews. And you can do this for your own business. You can do this for Walk SF Tours if you want in San Francisco. But you'll see that they've got reviews. So Google is getting into reviews in a very big way. So we see, I see on this clip, well, 4.8, I guess, was their average. But they only have 11 reviews, but this is a fantastic first impression. I see that this has got a whole bunch of 5-star reviews, and I'm more likely to click on that than one that doesn't have any reviews or maybe only has 1 or 2 reviews, right? Same thing on our Facebook page. If you do have a Facebook presence, or same thing on Yelp. I'm just using Google and Facebook here, but same thing for Yelp, same thing for other places where you have an online presence. So on Facebook, just down here, you can again search Walk SF Tours on Facebook if you want, but we'll see they've got 23 Facebook reviews, which isn't a lot compared to probably the majority of the reviews are on TripAdvisor and other places, but they have some, and that's what the important message is here. If we can't, ideally we'd have a steady stream of 5-star reviews going to all of our pages, but we're going to need to prioritize. But the mistake is to not turn that nozzle and face them and put some of these 5-star reviews on your other online real estate. So we see here they've got 23 reviews with an average of 4.9 out of 5 stars. And what can sometimes happen with businesses, I was like, people might be leaving you reviews and you don't even know on Facebook, or you might have a profile on Yelp if you've never looked there. So it's important to claim that online real estate and spread that nozzle around. I hope that works in terms of an analogy, right? And the percentages you will ultimately have to decide, but maybe it's 70% of the time you're focusing your reviews on TripAdvisor to keep them happy. And then 10%, meaning like a week over to focus on Google. And again, you're changing the links in your email. Maybe you're changing it to Facebook, Yelp, etc. Step 7, this is where we're going to respond to all reviews. Step 7, we were talking about it before, we are there. The biggest mistake to avoid when responding to your online reviews, not responding. That's the mistake. Some truth coming at you. If you don't respond or you only respond sporadically, this is where the truth comes in. You absolutely should start. And here are 2 huge reasons why. Figures released by TripAdvisor themselves. And these are for hotels, not tours and activities, but I think we can safely assume they're correlated. TripAdvisor's stats show that hotels where managers respond to all reviews had a 24% higher booking rate compared to businesses that were not responding to reviews. That is a huge statistic, and all reviews is the key word there. So hotels where managers respond to all reviews, 24% higher booking rate. Again, we are talking about hotels. because they have a larger sample size. But just think about that. And secondly, the other big reason why we want to respond to all reviews is that guests are a lot less likely to leave a negative or harsh review if they know somebody from the company is reading and responding to all reviews. And this has a little bit to do with human nature. If you think we're a lot less likely to badmouth somebody to their face, or if we know that they're going to be reading it later, right? So when they see that every single review has a response of some kind, that is going to reel them in a little bit, and they're going to be thinking about those reviews, less likely to be negative. So 8 rules for responding to your online reviews. Here's some advice for you guys. Develop a way to monitor your reviews. So whether that's a system where you're checking somebody in your organization, perhaps you, doesn't necessarily have to be a manager, checking in with the reviews weekly. There are some review notification services, reviewtrackers.com, Review Push, and Revinate. Those are good if you have a lot of reviews. But 2, read and follow the guidelines of review sites. So that's really important. If you're not familiar with those, just have a quick read through, because you don't want to be punished for doing something that's just out of line, right? 3, respond promptly. So that's where it kind of comes in, and it needs to be a habit that's built into the business, is responding as quickly as possible. And I know some of you are thinking, well, I haven't responded to a bunch from, earlier this year, or last year, I guess now, because we're in February. I would still say that you want to go back and respond to them within the last year, certainly like a year back from this date. Absolutely. Another great rule: 4, say thank you for the feedback, of course, because they've taken the time to write in, no matter what it is. 5, be original in your reply. This is a super common mistake. You see hotel managers making it all the time. They're just copying and pasting. That is awful, awful, awful. Because right away it shows that they don't have the time, it just shows a lack of care, and I think courtesy too, which is kind of the opposite of what you want. I'm going to show you some examples in a moment of people that did this really well, some great manager responses, because you might be wondering, but certainly do not copy and paste. Better, I would almost say, to do nothing than just have 5 or 6 of the exact same reply, right? 6 is highlight the positive. 7 is address any specific comments that they make. You don't want to dance around the fact, especially if it's constructive feedback or something negative. You want to get right to the issues that they address. Be polite and professional. But these are some bonus tips. So I spent a lot of time looking at how people are responding to reviews all over the web. And these are some of the best practices that I found. We want to avoid business jargon, and the more casual you are will make you stand out. And this takes some adjustment too, because we often think like, wow, we've got to be super professional at all times. And that kind of tends to bring out this really dry, personality-less way of writing. And a best practice is to write as if you're speaking to them in person, because you wouldn't use that voice, you wouldn't use that tone if you were talking to them face to face. We want to use the friend filter, right? We want to, basically what that means is as if we were talking to a friend. That's how we want to write. Other best practices: use some SEO keywords in your response, only if you can do it naturally. But that's definitely a pro move. So if you've got a whole pile of 5-star reviews and you happen to do walking tours in San Francisco, then try and sneak some keywords on there, because know that those reviews are indexed by Google and other search engines, right? So you could say something like, well, we're proud to be one of the longest running walking tours in San Francisco, or something like that. If you can get those keywords in there, it's another best practice. Responding to as many as possible, the good, the bad, and so-so. And I know for some of you, it's just not possible to respond to them all. In that case, as many as possible. Generally keep responses short, and always, always keep responses personal and individually crafted. So here's some creative real-world examples from companies responding perfectly to positive reviews. Okay, I'm not going to read the reviews themselves, just the manager responses. But this is a positive review. Wonderful tour, couldn't ask for more. This is an example from Walk SF Tours. It says, hello, Gary. Thank you so much for a review. Yes, we know Tolga is a rock star and gives a wonderful tour. However, it's always fantastic to hear others say so as well. Best, Ryan. Now, that review is a perfect response, I think, in so many ways. But you'll see right away how that friend filter, that casual but professional tone that Ryan took, really resonates. It's going to resonate a whole lot more than a very corporate stale response. Signing with a singular name, if you're comfortable doing that, like Ryan, not manager or those sorts of things, but Ryan, you know, it shows that their company is personable, that these are likable people. Here's another 5-star review. How come everybody here is so nice? Here's the response. Everyone is so nice because we have the best guests, and we figured out what makes every guest happy: coffee in the morning, wine in the evening, and a friendly fish to come home to. Honestly, we are just there to help with whatever you need. Thanks for the love, Jessica. So you can see there, again, Jessica, presumably a manager or some staff member, very, very personable. This is clearly somebody who's read the review. We're showing a little bit of humor in the response and showcasing personality, which is nice to see on these review sites, right? Get some personality from the brands and businesses. Here's a negative review. This was of a hotel in Brisbane. So here's the response. I was very disappointed to read of your experience during your stay with us. Whilst an apology will regrettably not alter the outcome of your experience, I do extend it with all sincerity. I certainly emphasize regarding the points you mentioned in your review, especially the noise you experienced in your room, the poor service you received as a result. This level of service is certainly not acceptable and will be addressed with the concerned party. So there's some things to like in here. I do think it is still a little bit formal, but what I like was that sincerity. It was apologizing. It sounds like this person had a rough experience at the hotel. It may not be your standard experience, but this person did. And first and foremost, we'll apologize for that. They got really specific into the points that they mentioned, the noise, the poor service, and talked about what you're going to do about it to fix it. And then even to that line I thought was so nice. Look, an apology at this stage probably isn't going to mean a whole lot, but we still owe you one. And that's a really nice sentiment to communicate. This is another example here. Oh yeah, this one was a little backhanded. I like this one. It says a 5-star review. It says, oh, another perfect stay. But then they kind of badmouth the restaurant a little bit inside. So it says the only thing that needs improvement, in my opinion, is the quality of the food in the on-site restaurant. So they kind of had a rant that was in this 5-star review. Yeah, watch out for these reviewers. They can be tricky. So this is another manager of a hotel, a different response, which says, thank you so much for the amazing review. I'm happy to hear that you found us and are never letting us go. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We have a new executive chef starting with us very soon. I'm excited to have you come back and try his new menu. Thanks again, Jessica. So you can see that clearly they're reading the reviews. So they know what these people are talking about. They saw that, you know what, they expressed this opinion that the restaurant wasn't that good. They addressed that concern in a really nice way. And again, that friend filter is just so powerful. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Because we have to remember that we want to be communicating with these people and be very friendly, because it's mostly not for the person that left the review, right? We have to be thinking that for the next 2 years, other people, other potential customers are going to be reviewing these reviews. They're going to be reviewing how you respond to those reviews, right? So having that personality, having personal responses, showing that you care, I think is what's so great about those responses. So the quick sum here is the 7 steps to that steady stream of awesome reviews. We want to become a feedback fanatic, right? We've got to start back at the basics. We've got to be remarkable. Think that purple cow. Think about Oprah burning her feet on those hot coals. 3, understand and shape our guest expectations. 4, we want to exceed those expectations, touch points, and delivering value every step of the way. 5, ask for the review. We want to automate it. We want to make sure we're delivering value at that point. 6, build strategic plan for your reviews. And 7, respond to everything. So I'm not too sure why you came today. You've got lots and lots of people here. It's exciting. Perhaps you're tired of working your butt off leading tours and only to have people leave a review when they've got something to complain about. I know that's such a common frustration. You know that, yes, online reviews are hugely important, but even more important is growing your business and getting more customers on your tour. And deep down, you know that leading amazing tours is the key to getting rave reviews and driving word of mouth sales, but it's hard to know exactly where to begin or where you should focus your energies on making your tours stand out from the crowd. Well, I would like to help you on your journey. Just the fact that you're here for this workshop, that you're watching this replay, tells me that you're committed to leading amazing tours, giving your guests memories that will last a lifetime. That is awesome. So the next step is essentially a step-by-step system that can transform your tour business into one that stands out from the crowd. This program that we built called Lead Amazing Tours is a blueprint of what the most successful tour companies on the planet are doing right now, with instructions of how to put these best practices into place. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. That's the big message. It's called Lead Amazing Tours, a step-by-step system for tour leaders to create unforgettable experiences, get rave reviews, and earn more customers. Now, I'm going to push through. We are opening up on March 3rd for a spring enrollment. I'm going to follow up with you and let you know about that opportunity. But because we're short on time and we do want to get to question and answer, I'm going to skip talking about it too much and let you know about this awesome free video series that we're starting next week. And this is just a free video series that we're doing. We're going to have 4 videos, 5 secrets of amazing tour leaders, 9 rookie mistakes frequently made by tour guides, tools and systems for leading amazing tours, and the next step. So that's what that little link underneath the video. If you want to sign up and get access to that Lead Amazing Tours video series, definitely extend the invite. So that was a lot. We moved really quickly through at the end there. But I appreciate all of your patience with our technical difficulties off the top. So I'll quickly mention, Nick, just before we call you back on, but the webinar bonus that we mentioned, the ultimate pre-tour checklist, if you do want to get that, it is just at this URL, www.leadamazingtours.com/webinar bonus. And you know what? I think I can even copy and paste that into the chat. So that would be an easy thing to click. Yeah, there we go. And of course, click below the video for that VIP invite. So Nick, are you there?
Do you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, I think you just came back.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I will also include that link in the email.
Awesome.
So I just see this question coming up. How can we see this as a video again? I will send you all the recordings, slides, the link to the bonus PDF. Yeah, we'll just get that out to everyone.
Yeah, and in terms of any questions, did you see anything that came up in the chat there that maybe we didn't address?
Yeah, I had a few, I think, what was it?
From Tasjao, you've exceeded my expectations, Kelsey. Yeah. Thank you. That was very kind. Thank you so much.
That's a good review already. Here's one. When you have automated review requests, do you ask for a 5-star review specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. With that system that I showed before on the slide, where you give the 2 options, we do. Yeah, when I've coached businesses to do that, and some of you probably know this experience, that it's just getting so, competitive out there these days, that even for some of the people that we're sharing, like, hey, we've only got 5-star reviews, and 4-star reviews actually bring us down and can really affect our bottom line. So that's kind of an elegant way to say, the wording was really choice there, and you can see in the slides or maybe the replay to get that wording just right. But, would you be comfortable leaving us a 5-star review? Really is the right way to ask that. And then give them, that's a question, right? It's not a demand. It's not an ask, hey, can you go leave us a 5-star? It's like, are you comfortable doing that? Yes, they'll go to this place. No, but I've loved to, no, but I've got some feedback to make your tour better. Like that option that you've given them really communicates how much you care about your tour and about their experience, right? Even if they don't answer it, just reading those 2 options is going to show that, wow, these guys are really committed to improving their tours and getting great reviews online. So yeah, I would caution against demanding or asking people to leave a 5-star review unless you've got that wording just right, as we shared.
Mm-hmm. And then there was another few questions that came along, and that was like about the Excellence Award on TripAdvisor and how people apply for this, or like how do people get that?
Yeah, that's a great question. As far as I know, and I'm not the most experienced person because I've never actually got one myself, because I wasn't a business that was operating, was that they're tended to be automated in the past. They may have changed the system, but if you are able to keep a certain average review or ranking or higher, they would reach out to you. But unfortunately, I can't give a better answer than that. You should definitely go on. Maybe somebody could answer that in the chat too if they have more experience with getting one, because I absolutely think that's something great to showcase on your website. If you have that little certificate that kind of says, hey, we've got that 5-star review. And as far as I know, it's not that difficult to get if you have the reviews.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up, how that works, and like write about that anytime soon. I think that's a really good resource to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's something people want to know. So that's exactly what I was going to do, write a blog about that, about the Excellence Award. Dive right into that.
I've got one here, got a sort of longer question. Here's the response to a 1-star. I think a person shared this response perhaps. I'm very sorry that the group had such a negative experience. I've issued a full refund to everyone in the group. The real SF tour is just not for everybody. If you don't regularly walk at least 30 minutes a day, it will probably seem like a boot camp. When I asked this group if this was the right choice for them before the tour departed, they were insistent. While we do make every effort to adjust the pace of the tour based on participants, there are limits to what we can do. You should only sign up for the real SF tour if you're comfortable walking around the city for a full day with several planned breaks. This tour includes short uphill sections and hidden stairways of beautiful San Francisco that most people find extremely enjoyable. Okay, so I'll just do a couple quick thoughts. I assume this was the typed response. There's just a few things in there that are not passive aggressive isn't quite the right word, but you just have to be careful. And this is so hard. I know writing these is just brutal, as you don't want to make a mistake and make the situation worse, of course. But just that last phrase there, when you're saying that most people find extremely enjoyable, you just have to be careful with that phrasing, because that almost sounds like, well, most people enjoyed it, but you didn't. This is put a little bit of like a passive thing that's going on there. So we just have to be careful there. What I do like about your response is that you explain the particular situation. Sometimes that's just what you need to do. You get this 2-star review, somebody is furious, and maybe they're way out of line. Maybe you did everything you could, and from a customer service point of view, to make them happy, to arrangements, but for whatever reason, they're just really upset and being unreasonable. Then I think it's okay to do what you did there and just kind of clarify the situation for other people who come across that review. And they certainly will, because people will often click down and see those negative reviews, especially if mostly positive. And so, again, I think you did mostly the right thing there. And also might ask ourselves, how can we clarify that in the tour description, right? That, hey, here's some straight talk. If you're not comfortable walking up the hills of San Francisco, this tour may not be for you, and how you can include that in the tour description. I hope that helps. Okay. Any other questions that were coming in here? Feel free to type them in. I know I don't have anything planned for the next 5 to 10 minutes. If people do want to stick around, I'm happy to. But I know many of you probably want to hit the road, and that's no problem too. You can always come back and check out the Q&A on the replay.
Yeah, that's I see a lot of inquiries about like how your booking software can help you with like the reviews and stuff. So without going too much in depth about that, basically there's a feature in most booking softwares that allow you to send automated emails. So you can decide to send emails to people that have left you a good form on the feedback, or a good review on the feedback form, or whatever. Like, that's completely customizable. So yeah, that's like a little bit how you want to use that. But I'm not the specialist to explain like how to do that. So if you're really interested, just leave your email address in the chat. I have Jamie's one already and Captain Chris Chicago. I can both organize a call with you today or later. That's fine, whatever suits you.
Cool.
But if you want to know more, just leave your email address in the chat and I'll organize a call with you.
That's fantastic. So we see lots of thank yous coming in from Captain Chris Chicago, lots of anons. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love a call, Nick, Jamie. Yeah, we saw that there. Resdy's great with quick support and real live person. That's nice. Nice review of Resdy there for you. Thank you, 5-star workshop. That's very kind. How short is a short review response? Okay, good question. I mean, I would say generally 3 sentences. I mean, that's pretty short. I mean, sometimes you'll just see like a quick thanks, those sorts of responses. I think those are maybe just a hair too short, because you want to, that might be okay if you have to go back and you've got 500 to do, maybe throw in the odd thank you very much in there. But just those few extra steps that it takes to like maybe get their name, respond with their name, and bring up something that they actually addressed. And again, think about those keywords. How can you get the keywords for your tour into that review and response effort? Okay, someone else says, I give you, oh, that looks like 6 stars. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. And if you did enjoy this workshop, and if you are enjoying this replay, absolutely check out if you just go to leadamazingtours.com, our video series is basically 4 mini workshops where we go in depth to a lot of other topics that have to do with Lead Amazing Tours. And I think you guys would super enjoy it if you enjoyed this. Thanks from Hungary. It was worth it to stay awake, even if it's 1 a.m. Thank you so much. Looks like Gergo, maybe in Budapest there. That's so wonderful. Someone said, I wrote a few questions further up. Kelsey, do you think you could answer? I will copy and paste my questions, Jamie. Yeah, that would be a huge help, because we've got so many people on the call. It's kind of tricky to know which questions with and none. Okay. What are your thoughts on inviting a blogger on a tour that has a high reviewer ranking on TripAdvisor? That's interesting. I think inviting bloggers on tour is a absolutely great thing to do anyway, because obviously they can talk about your tour, talk about your experience. And not only bloggers, but think about who you could invite in your town, in your city, in your network to actually come and experience your tour, right? Like maybe receptionists from some of your main hotels, like offer them a free tour, get them out, and hopefully your tour is extraordinary enough or a cool enough experience that even some of the local people would enjoy coming on it. And maybe they can bring a friend too. That's a nice way to add it up. Instead of just coming alone on the tour, say, hey, why don't you grab a friend and come do this tour with us? And then you can showcase how great your tour is, and they're going to be that much more likely to refer people to it, right? So not just bloggers, but other people. But if they have a high reviewer ranking on TripAdvisor, hey, all the best. Okay, this might be from Jamie. She says, Kelsey, you are great. Thank you so much. Lots of really good insights. I'm excited to put this to work and get better reviews. My questions to you. We're only open March to October. How can we stay consistent? We've had an award of excellence every year except last year, but we still kept getting great reviews. Our company has 2 TripAdvisor pages, one for our charters, one for our store, but we are one company. I've tried to get a hold of TripAdvisor to merge them, but they never reply. What should I do? Okay, a few challenges in there. We're only open from March to October. How can we stay consistent? I mean, that's really the challenge. I mean, you could think about having a drip campaign. If you have some customers who you sort of collect their emails, you have a database, you could send out a drip campaign in the months when you're not active. By drip campaign, I just mean emailing a few of them at a time. So maybe December, January, February, March, each email a small batch of customers and just said, hey, we wanted to reach out, deliver some value, offer something awesome. Like, hey, here's a little taste of summer, and then show some fun video of your amazing charter experience or something like that, or maybe a neat link to something, and then say, hey, if you haven't left us a review, we'd absolutely love one, right? And then make it really, really easy for them. So that's one idea for the off season. In terms of getting a hold of TripAdvisor, gosh, I'm not too sure. I mean, obviously just try and keep at it. There's another, oh gosh, there's a website, Nick, I don't know if you've heard of them, but it's called gethuman.com. Jamie, I can't be totally clear of it, but it's like Get Human or Get People. And it's a website that basically researches telephone numbers where you can actually get through to a human being. And that's often a great way to maybe shortcut some of these frustrations. So I would try that, Jamie. I wish I could remember the service offhand, but essentially it's a website that gets you actual phone numbers for businesses, and they might be able to get your TripAdvisor number, and then they can direct you to the right person to help you with your problem. Cool. Giorgio says, yes, Budapest. Mai says, I've set up automatic email for the review, but want to know how to make it better and get more response. Here's my email, Mai@Winebus. Thank you so much. Hey, awesome, Mai. I've definitely, you know, if you sign up for that 4-part video series, I'll be able to reach out to you as well. Let me just think about that for a second. So how to get more response, because this is the big thing, how to increase your open rates. Nick, do you know offhand if Resdy shows you your open rates for emails?
Ooh, good question.
Sorry to put you on the spot there, but I know many, there, oftentimes when you have an email automation system like that, they can kind of show you, and this is a big challenge for people.
Yeah, it does. If like you can send your automated emails through MailChimp if you want to, and I think they do it, but I'm not completely sure how that all works. So don't pin me on it.
Yeah,
but I'd say yes.
Totally. So I only mention it because you can see how your open rates will improve if you put into place some of the tactics that we talked about. And so the big thing, Mai, is make sure you don't have the word review or, hey, leave us a review in your subject line. The subject line is really important. You want to communicate whatever educational, inspirational, or entertaining thing, that little piece of value that we're talking about, following up on the tour, make sure that is in the subject line, because that's what they're going to read. That's what's going to be a main factor in deciding whether or not to open the email. You provide that value. Just doing that is going to get you a big jump in open rates. And then, of course, get the ask in later on in the email. But that is a big challenge is getting people to respond to those emails. The actual follow-up email with 2 links is pure gold. Thanks for that. Yeah, awesome. No, I hope that it works for you. Organic press is the key, even better than reviews. Just remember that these days, mostly seniors read print. Yeah, I think people are talking just about some of those traditional methods. We focused a lot on online reviews, but I absolutely agree with sorry, Anon 5947 here, that those are really important they're really important relationships to build in your community, the people who are referring the agents on your tour, and also your local press. Those things are huge for getting people on your tour. What do you think about using Main Street Hub? I don't know what Main Street Hub is. I'm sorry, that's just the truthful answer. I'll make a note to look into that. Thanks, Kelsey and Nick. See you in the Youre Valley. Ooh, Epicurean Tours. Nick, I think we just got invited on a tour.
I saw you got invited to another one to go fishing as well.
Hey, awesome. Okay, we got to have a look through here. So I say flights from Vancouver are very affordable for those who would like to, some one-on-one consulting for your tour. I think that's awesome. I would love to take my business in that place, but Nick, you and I could do it. We'll get flown around and we'll go on these tours, and then we can provide coaching on how to make them even more awesome.
Exactly. I'll go on all of those tours. That's fine.
Yeah. Someone recommends the owner forums at TripAdvisor. Those guys have a lot of insights and info. Just make sure you are in the actual owner forum. Okay. So I haven't done that before, but going into the owner forum of TripAdvisor sounds like a good piece of advice. We've not shared the link to go to TripAdvisor and Facebook will try to work it the way Kelsey shared it. Yeah. No, I hope you give it a try. And again, don't just think about sending all of your reviews to run one place. We want to get a sprinkling of reviews at some of these other places. If you, even like we saw in the Walk SF tours, even if you've got a number between 10 and 20 reviews on your Google business page and your Facebook page, maybe in Yelp and other places where your tour is, that's going to be great. What if you do not want the clients who do not use TripAdvisor? If our tours are marketed to more luxury tours, is there another review place that they can do that? That's interesting. So it sounds like NYC Star that maybe you don't encourage reviews on TripAdvisor, or maybe you're not on TripAdvisor. Gosh, I can't think. I mean, any place that you're listing your tour would be the big thing. So some people use services like Viator or Get Your Guide, Tours by Locals. There's a number of marketplaces that are springing up, and any place where your tour is listed is where you want to then send those reviews. And if you're asking the question, well, hey, we don't have that much of an online presence, we use other channels to get our bookings, then that can be okay too if it's part of your business model. But I would certainly then be using a survey or a form to collect and solicit feedback directly from your clients. And then you can sort of serve up some of those rave reviews back to your clients, back to your guests. You can use them in your marketing campaigns. You know what I mean? So you certainly want to be having some sort of evaluation survey and trying to get those great quotes that you could then share with other people. And then you can use them for email marketing, maybe if you in your other channels, stuff like that. Anyone else have a drastic change in their TripAdvisor ranking lately? I went from 75 to 105 in one day with the same reviews. Yeah. So, I mean, part of this game is that the TripAdvisor algorithm changes a lot. The other thing is that it's not just your reviews, it's everybody else's reviews, right? So it might have been an adjustment of the algorithm to reflect something. Remember too that people are regularly being, there's an entire review kind of evaluation, a review, if you will. So all kinds of businesses are writing in saying, hey, this reviewer is abusing the system, or hey, this reviewer was my competitor, these sorts of things. So they're being removed and added all the time, which can affect your reviews. So I'm sorry to hear about that drop, but hopefully we covered some techniques to get you back up.
Are there any more questions? I think we've run through them pretty much.
Yeah. Someone just says Facebook has reviews on company pages. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You may need to enable it if you don't see it on your Facebook page. And just search Facebook for doing that. It's beyond the scope of obviously right now to cover that, but sometimes you do need to enable those reviews.
Okay, let's do one more question that comes through and then call it a day. How about that?
That sounds good to me.
If there are any, we covered a lot today, so.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you had one there. I was just waiting for you to ask it. Okay, let's have a quick look. Oh, Jamie, you're over in Tofino. That's awesome. Okay, we've got to be in touch. Okay, if your market is not those who use TripAdvisor, how do we get them to review us? Yeah, we covered that a little bit. So soliciting private reviews and private feedback are super important. And in Lead Amazing Tours, I talk a lot about the importance of building numbers into your survey too, into your personal review survey. Some of the top guiding companies and tour companies on the planet actually have an entire private review system where they're soliciting the feedback from people, and they're using numerical system to rank the trip, and then they're ranking the individual guides. And that's how, when I was working for a larger company, that's how it works. So I had an overall ranking as an individual guide that came from guest feedback that was all processed within the company. And then of course the tour. So then over time you can track, hey, those changes that we made after we saw that great ResD Be a Better Guide workshop, did they actually improve our customer experience? And you can't really know that unless you're monitoring
potentially a TripAdvisor type, but you can also set up a system with internal surveying and reviewing.
Yeah, and there's to measure that really well, there's a great tool for that. It's called the Net Promoter Score. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that's a really good one. There is going to be an article on the Resdy blog for that pretty soon. And it's basically one of the only scientific proven questions that is directly correlated with revenue of your business. So if that score goes up, your revenue goes up.
Yeah, very cool. And watch for that blog post. You can search the Net Promoter Score on Google as well, but it's essentially how likely someone is to recommend your tour to someone else. Turns out to be one of the most effective measures of customer satisfaction with your.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we got covered. Just a couple last pieces of advice. Someone said TripAdvisor recently did the entire mobile platform. You should check that platform out because they've got a ton of new containers. Thanks for that tip. And then lastly, NYC Star. Thanks for answering my question. Excellent advice about the survey, which is a great idea. Just reading through here. But the survey idea is awesome. Yeah. So basically, if you're not soliciting reviews online, which there's definitely some, well, there's an example right here with NYC Star, but many companies don't necessarily have a presence on the big online review sites, or maybe you don't use those online marketing channels like Get Your Guide, but you absolutely should be getting those reviews through a private survey. Awesome. Well, I think that might be a good place to wrap it up, Nick. What do you think?
Yeah, that's good. We've done a while, 1.5 hours. That's good.
Yeah, I know. I definitely want to stick around a little bit. Thanks everybody for your patience off the top. We had a couple issues getting it going, but it all seemed to come out in the wash.
Yeah. Then a final note, I would say keep your mailboxes, stay tuned with emails. There will be another webinar in a month or so. Kelsey, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come back. I was just telling Nick about some of the new workshops that I'm putting together. So I absolutely love the Resdy community and all of you folks who came out here today. I just want to say thank you and good luck out there.
All right. Thank you so much, Kelsey, and we'll see you again.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. And we'll sign off.
Bye.